Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Falls from Iron. Welcome to the Daily West Ham. I am Gatesy. I am here to talk about a news story that I have seen out there in cyberspace. I have Steve 50 here joining me to discuss it. Before we get into that, Steve, I'd just like to say to the people watching, thanks for joining us. And don't forget to support the channel by dropping a like on the stream, subscribing to our YouTube channel, and make sure you hit that bell icon to be notified of any new content as and when we upload it to the channel. And please don't forget our campaign to get Isla Caton the treatment that she needs to save her life. She is a 6-year-old girl that is battling neuroblastoma. This is a cancer for which there is no treatment in the UK. Her family, therefore, have to pay for the treatment. The flights to wherever it is in the world this treatment is available, the accommodation once they're there, their living costs once they're there, their bills in the UK that are still coming in. This is a family that absolutely needs our help. Whether you are a West Ham fan, whether you are a football fan, if you are a decent human being, we ask you to help. All we need you to do is to copy and paste this information. This is in the description below on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. You can copy and paste this, put it onto your social media platforms, and let your friends, your family, your followers know what the campaign is all about. If you can put some money into the pot as well as that, so much the better. You have the Just Giving link there, and we would encourage you to give generously, and I thank you very much indeed for your support as always. Steve, let's get straight into it then, my friend, bud. Shall we? So this was a story that caught my eye, sir. I'm just going to go full screen with it for the viewers at home, and I shall just get rid of that pesky banner at the bottom. So, okay, this is from Hammers News, Steve. Simon Jordan makes claim that David Sullivan and David Gold that West Ham fans will love. Now, the moment I saw that, I don't know about you, I just thought, I don't think that there's too many statements that could be said about Gold and Sullivan to most West Ham fans that didn't involve them moving on, that most West Ham fans would love. But then I read on the piece. Now, I don't know about you. I think that Simon Jordan, I actually quite like him in a funny sort of way. I think he talks straight. I think he means what he says, and he says what he means. I'll just wind on a little bit and just get the quotation here. There he is, looking tanned as always. So Jordan is quoted as saying, "This West Ham team is directly relatable product to David Moyes, more so than any other manager, because he's not just pleased to be in Europe, he's building a team to be in Europe. A lot of teams that get into Europe that are sort of secondary teams look at it as a little bit of a poison chalice because they're going to use their squad in a different way than previously. And you see most sides start the season that are in these situations find themselves compromised in the domestic league. He's on full throttle. He sees West Ham as a project that has a huge opportunity in it, and he's going to drag it kicking and screaming, which means the owners are going to be hanging on to his coattails rather than the other way around. What a place to be." Steve, this is what we want to hear as West Ham fans, isn't it? Surely, you know, for once, there's a manager that's come in that's actually got a set of balls, if I may use that word, to actually say to the chairmen, and principally David Sullivan, as the majority shareholder, that this is the way that things need to be done, and back me, or this doesn't happen.
Well, I mean, this could be the world's shortest video of all time, because I actually completely agree with Simon Jordan, which is rare in and of itself.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say is, I know there's a lot of hate towards the board. I am not one of those people. I'm board neutral. And I've always maintained that. I don't care if they carry on owning it if the club's run properly.
Yep.
It makes no difference to me. I want to see our team win. And that's what matters. And David Sullivan, he's obviously quite a smart man. You don't do as well as David Sullivan does in life without knowing when you're onto a good thing. And it's like playing a slot machine. You've pulled the arm. That's for those of a certain age remember how they work like that. You pull the arm, and actually it's come up with 3 stars, hasn't it, with David Moyes?
Yeah.
He's he's won. He's won his bet. And let's face it, bringing Moyes back was a gamble.
Yes.
And you can't criticise Sullivan for eating humble pie and bringing Moyes back because it's worked brilliantly.
But it was probably a gamble for David Moyes as well. Would you agree, Steve? Because I think it's fair to say that obviously his reputation at Everton was absolutely exemplary. He's then gone to Manchester United. Everybody knew that when Fergie went, whoever followed him in had to basically hit the ground running, or they were on a hiding to nothing. And so it proved. David Moyes was the chosen one. It didn't work out. He was gone before the season was out, following on from Fergie. He then moves on. Real Sociedad, that didn't work out. Sunderland, that didn't work out. I happen to think that the Sunderland thing, I think, was a little bit of a. I think he was on a hiding to nothing there, because if you look at the Sunderland gig, Sunderland had been sailing, flying pretty close to the sun for many, many seasons before. In fact, I remember, I can't remember the sequence of managers that they had, but they had Martin O'Neill, Dick Advocaat, Paolo Di Canio, Gus Poyet, that were all going in. Sam Allardyce as well, that went in, did a job to keep them up, but didn't last the following season. They'd be replaced, then they'd be struggling. That manager would get them out at the last knockings, and it went on for many seasons. And you knew that it was a matter of time before somewhere along the line they were going to fall down the trap door. And unfortunately for David Moyes, it happened to be when he walked through the door. So obviously he came to us the first time round, and we know that he did the job. He kept us up. And whether you think that the right decision was made at the time or not, he was moved on for Pellegrini. Obviously he came back. I think it was just as much of a risk for David Moyes as it was for David Sullivan at that point. However, things have completely turned for David Moyes. Now, I think that David Moyes is in the strongest position that he could be in, because he could legitimately, if he chose to do so, and I hope this to not be the case, but he could literally walk away from West Ham right now, and his stock is there. When he came to us, his stock was as lower than a snake's belly. But right now, his stock is here, and he could literally walk away. And the moment an opportunity would come along at a club that fitted his vision of how a football club ought to be, I don't think he'd walk into any football club just willy-nilly. I think it would have to be the right club. But I think that he's now at a point where he could pretty much have his choice of jobs, certainly in England, possibly across Europe.
I think he could, but I do think this is where Sullivan's been quite clever. He's seen what Moyes has done. He realises we're on an upward trajectory, and he's gone, right, you get on with it. Sullivan's 71 now. You get to a point in life where you can't juggle all the plates. You don't want to. You want to do something different. And I think from what Moyes says, he's established a good working relationship with Sullivan. Yeah, Moyes is in control of the footballing side of it. And I think while that maintains, Moyes stays, because he has got carte blanche in some ways. Okay, not financially. He can't go out and spend 100 million on a player. But if he gets his recruitment and selling on right, that day may come. But he's moving the club in the right way, and Sullivan's bright enough to go, okay, get on with it, because it's working. Sullivan doesn't need to interfere, because what he's got is something that's going in the way he's always wanted it to go. And yeah, I think that article's spot on. And I think David Moyes, if it carries on like this, where he can build something in his own image, will stay for a very long while. If he has that freedom, why would he want to move? I don't think he's the right manager for a big club like Man U, because he wants control of everything. And when you get to Man U size, you just can't control everything. You have to delegate. But for a club of our stature, he's perfect, because he's got his fingers in all the pies. He knows what's going on, and he's moving it all in the same way. I I never wanted Pellegrini. I wanted Moyes to stay, and anybody who knows me will tell you that. But I think it's a really good thing that's going on with Moyes.
Yeah.
Finish sixth. Are we going to finish sixth last season? No, but we're still going in the right way. Anyway, enough of me rambling.
Well, you say that. I mean, I'm just looking at this quote again from Simon Jordan, and where he says that secondary teams, if you want to put us into that bracket, I guess we're not. Although we finished in the top six last season, in terms of money, in terms of cash flow, in terms of what we sort of bring to the table, in terms of supporters around the world, we aren't a top six club, regrettably.
No.
So I suppose we are in that secondary teams category that Simon Jordan's talking about. But where he says about they look at it as a bit of a poison chalice because they're going to use their squad in a different way than previously. I have to say, so far, and I know it's only one game of the European campaign in and 4 games of the Premier League, but I don't see that we've been utilising the squad. It's not like you can say that fundamentally there was a big difference between the team that we put out against Zagreb in terms of quality compared to the game before at Southampton. So I don't see that we are using the squad in a different way. And he goes on to say the point about that they find themselves compromised in the domestic league. Well, 4 games in, we've got 8 points. That's a pretty good start. And Gonzo said it on one of his videos. And I know it's not necessarily going to work this way. Just because you've got 2 points per game 4 games into the season doesn't necessarily follow it's going to be like that for the next 34. However, the point still stands. If you get 2 points on average per game over a 38 game season, you're qualifying for Europe as an absolute minimum, aren't you?
Yeah, well, probably Champions League, to be fair.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah, and yeah, what is there not to like at the moment about our club from where we were to where we are? It's, as you know, I've been a Hammers fan for 50 years, and this is good, and we need to enjoy it. And I think having Moyes at the helm is a good thing. I think Sullivan eating a bit of humble pie and backing off a bit is a good thing. But I think one of the key things is I actually think Sullivan trusts Moyes to do the right thing, and out of that trust comes Moyes' freedom to build West Ham into the club he wants to. I'm not sure he's entirely had that trust with any other manager.
Do you
I
know the
know,
only shame in that, though, Steve? Sorry to interrupt, but just the
yeah,
only shame in that is that he didn't trust David Moyes after he got us out of relegation and before he gave the gig to Pellegrini. Because you do sit there and wonder if David Moyes had have had the kitty that Pellegrini was given that he
oh,
spent
yeah,
on Haller, on Anderson, on Yarmolenko, on all these players that he brought through the door.
mm,
What could David Moyes have done? I mean, I'm not entirely convinced he'd have spent all of it. I think he'd have probably been a bit more pragmatic, a little bit more sensible. I certainly don't think that the players that he brought in, that Pellegrini brought in, would have ever got through the door under David Moyes. And it just sort of it's one of those sliding doors moment. What if? Because the understanding I have is that David Gold wanted to keep David Moyes on, and it was David
yeah.
Sullivan that wanted to move in a different direction. But I always wonder what if David Sullivan had have trusted? I mean, you say that David Sullivan now trusts David Moyes, but what if he'd have trusted him then, Steve?
Oh, I've thought about this often, but I see, again, chatting to my son, I see why he went for Pellegrini because he'd actually got a big name manager that he was going to back who had won the Premier League. And maybe there was a bit of delusions of grandeur that he could do the same with us.
Yeah.
Do I blame Sullivan? Do I think it was the wrong choice? Absolutely. Do I blame Sullivan for giving it a go? No, I don't. It comes back to the point you've made so quite eloquently and quite often is they're over ambitious.
Yep.
I thought he thought we could be bigger than we were.
Mm-hmm.
And Moyes does it a different way. You can throw the budget we have at David Moyes and he will make it work and he will build. He'll bring in players and he makes them better. I've been very interested to see Moyes' signings. We always want the finished article to turn up and run on the pitch and be perfect. A bit like Kurt Zouma, he's the finished article. But he buys a lot of players that he sees something in, very much like Brian Clough did, and says, I can make that player better. I can make them something special, and then there'll be a West Ham player. I don't have to wait till they're 70 million to buy them. And that's what he does, which I think, and I saw Brian Clough do it with Nottingham Forest. You know, he got promoted and then won the league the next year. Clough was an absolute footballing genius for a club of that size. And I go as far as to say David Moyes is very much in the ilk that... sorry, I'm laughing. Your son's just done a moonwalk across the back of the thing. Moyes is very much of the ilk of Cloughy. He builds. He takes players that other people think, yeah, they're not there yet. I'm not prepared to risk big money on them. He takes a calculated gamble and improves them. And that's what we need.
Yeah, I think he's the perfect manager for our club at this particular moment in time. And as I said on the Daily West Ham that I recorded yesterday, that went out this morning. Obviously, this will go out tomorrow, so that's now yesterday. I think that makes sense. You know that there's been a lot of changes made behind the scenes in terms of the recruitment, in terms of the scouting, in terms of making sure that we maximize every penny that we spend. You know, that we're bringing in the right player that has the right skill set. Not just that, more importantly, more fundamentally, that they're the right character. Because it's no good if you get someone in that might have all the tools of the trade, but you know, as far as their characteristics are concerned, they don't blend with the other characters that are in the training room, in the dressing room. I think that David Moyes makes sure, as much as he possibly can, that the due diligence is done. I know that he has this Dithering Dave tag that he gets attributed with. How much of that is fair, I'm not entirely sure, but I think I prefer to look at him as Diligent Dave, if I'm being honest with you, Steve.
And that's what we need. We don't need to go out and spend vast quantities of money on the wrong player.
Yeah,
we've done it twice. You know, you look at Haller and Anderson, the money we spent on them and our return, it's... If you're running a business like that, you go bankrupt inside a month, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. So Simon Jordan makes the claim that Gold, Sullivan and Brady have basically the tables have turned. They are not so much the ones that have the power at West Ham now. The power is in David Moyes' hands because of the job that he's done. Let us know what you think, guys. You've got a comment section below. As usual, don't forget to drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of any new content as and when we upload it to the channel. And please don't forget the campaign for Ryla. Make sure you put this onto your social media platforms, and if you can, stretch to putting a couple of quid in the pot to help this young girl in her fight for life. We would greatly appreciate it, and we thank you very much indeed for your time and consideration. And I thank you as well, Steve, for yours.
Thank you very much, Gatesy.
No problem.
Great pleasure as always.
And likewise, my friend. And we're going to finish off with our usual sign-off.
Yeah.
Come on, you Irons.